Yo, what it do? Good morning, good morning. It's your boy, old boy, checking in from Old Boy's Corner. Remember, just a small town country boy with big city dreams. Today, or this morning content is Isaiah Harris. How was dismissed? We're gonna go back to the preliminary hearing. The judge said something in the very beginning that I think a lot of people missed, including myself. We're going back to the judge's closing arguments from the first preliminary hearing that Jarvis had. And I got questions. And so should everybody that's covering this case to find out where and who is this second homicide. And if you don't believe me, I'm going to show you. There's a second homicide. Isaiah Harris, how was dismissed? Info from the Jarvis Butts first preliminary hearing. The judge said so herself, and we all missed it. Once again, make sure you hit that like button as you come in. It's going to be a very short live. Just want to put the information out there, and maybe someone can pick it up and kind of piggyback off what's been discovered. Good morning, Kenya. Good morning. Thank you. Drive safe. Be careful. Drive safe and be careful. Drive safe and be careful. Good morning, Sheila. How you doing? Good morning. How you doing? Good to see you. Good to see you. Once again, welcome to the corner, like always. Good morning. So once again, Isaiah Harris, how was dismissed? Information from Jarvis Butts' first preliminary hearing. And we're going to get right into it. Cut this music off because we're going to actually need complete silence on this. Especially when I play this video, which I'm going to play the video last. Good morning, Ovi. Good morning. I appreciate it. So we're going to go down these charges first. I understand. I pray that it gets better, Shelly. I pray that it gets better. We've got the rest of the day to go, so I hope it gets better for you. All right. So let's get to these charges. So, once again, how did we miss this? So I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to show you. It's Wayne County Sheriff Inmate Inquiry. Just so you know, I'm going to leave it up there for a while. Everybody look and see where these charges are actually coming from. There's not pulling any tricks over here, anything like that. Take a good look at it. Put this other screen up. Let's see. So take a good look at that. It's Jarvis. It's his full name, his birth date, where he's at, his bond. So now we got that out the way. We're going to look at his charges. So we're going to go here first. These are some of the charges that you see from so what you want to pay attention to, you see in the first column is the charges itself. In the middle is the date that they charged him with the charge. And then in the third column right here, you have what you'll call a docket number, i.e., case number. So, what we're going to pay in particular attention to is the one that got the 10 beside it. And that's homicide, murder, in the first degree premeditated. And he was charged with this on 1/17/2025 at 9:43 a.m. in the morning. The docket number for that case is 25-000218. Once again, he was charged with homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated, January the 17th, 2025, 9:43 a.m. in the morning. Docket number 25-000218. All right. So we're gonna go to his next set of charges. Which is right here. Remember, January the 17th, 2025, he was charged with homicide, premeditated, murder. Now we go here. We're gonna pay so go to where's number 3 at right here. Homicide, murder first degree, premeditated on 11/1/2024 at 7:30 p.m. that day. And the docket number reads 25-000218. So the docket numbers are the same. Once again, i.e., case number are the same. So I went over this once before over here, and no one really wants to talk about the second homicide and where it comes from and why. Well, guess what? Found the answer for you. So through further digging, and I want to make sure everybody see that. See, there's 2 premeditated homicides, first degree, two different charge dates, same docket number. So why is only one homicide being talked about? Is the question. I think I have an answer, and hopefully someone else can piggyback off this because this is as far as I can get. But hopefully I'll open some ears and bring some awareness, and maybe someone else can dig a little further. So we're gonna go here. And these are gonna be under the charges of the November charges. Which is, I've never heard of this, never seen this before, but they're on Jarvis Butt's docket. Are you ready? Let's go. So as you see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges that has bond over to Third Circuit Court. Now remember, there's another homicide. Then there's one right here on 11/1/2024, 7:33 p.m. Docket number 25-000218, which has been bond over to Third Circuit Court. What is that telling us? that he's not being tried for it in the second homicide under the same courts. And that's why maybe people are not talking about it. And I have something better for you. So you might say, oh boy, because I said this to myself. I said, oh boy, what does bond over mean? I never heard of it. So I did some more digging, right? So oh boy, what does bond over mean? Well, guess what? I found the answer. So this is what bond over means. Once a case is bond over, it is formally transferred from a lower court, such as a municipal or district court, to a higher trial court with broader jurisdiction, often called a circuit or superior court. This transfer is a procedural necessity because lower courts only have the authority to handle initial proceedings for felonies, not the actual trials. The first major event in the higher court is a formal arraignment. At this proceeding, the defendant is officially informed of the charges, which may have been formalized in a document called an indictment or information. I'm gonna leave that right there. Or what bond over means. Never saw it before. Some struck my interest. I was watching something that was calling out the charges. I'm like, hold on. That don't sound right. So in this one, I got to digging. Once again, there's two. What up, bro? Just working, man. How you doing? Be careful on that road. I know you're working. Be careful. So once again, and we're gonna hear this term bond over again by the judge. And I'm gonna play it. We got to listen real closely. May have to run it back a few times. I don't want to drag this out. It's gonna be a real short live. Really, just like I said, maybe this went over all our heads. How, I don't know. You're gonna hear this again. Once a case is bond over, it is formally transferred from a lower court, such as a municipal or district court, to a higher trial court with broader jurisdiction, often called a circuit or superior court. This transfer is a procedural necessity because lower courts only have the authority to handle initial proceedings for felonies, not the actual trials. The first major event in a higher court is a formal arraignment. At this proceeding, the defendant is officially informed of the charges, which may have been formalized in a document called an indictment or information. Man. And I'm going to go from there. And good morning, Chevy. Good morning. Over here cooking. So you see what a bond over means. Where I get it from, I'm going to go there again. There's 6 charges. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's only 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One of them 5s happened to be a second, which is crazy because this one actually, the bond over is the one that was actually indicted on November the 1st, 2024. It says bond over to Third Circuit Court. And we just read what that means is that it's a higher court in a bigger jurisdiction to be able to handle such of a charge. So that was November 1st, 2024. Then I'm gonna show you where there's another homicide on here. January 2025. What number it is? Right there, number 10, right there. January 117, January the 17th, 2025, at 9:43 a.m. Interesting. Them 2 charges. And we're gonna listen to this video right here of the preliminary hearing of the judge. It's gonna make sense, but you have to listen. Listen with your ears. Listen, because it goes by very quickly, but it's gonna make a lot of sense. I promise you it will. So I'm gonna get ready to cue up this video. Put your listening ears on. Whatever's in the background, tune it out. Remember the word bond over and understand what bond over means. To send it up to a higher court. To send it up to a higher court. All right, let's go. The first time, I'm gonna stop it a few times, and then I'll let it play. And it's shocking. Something that's said in here that's very shocking. And I ain't heard absolutely nobody talk about, but it's here. Listen.
Starting a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote.
She says the one thing I have highlighted in pink.
In this case, there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to.
In this case, there's no physical evidence leading
Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree.
We don't have the same facts or circumstances. She began to say, I do agree. Listen closely.
This is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction.
You heard her, she said this is enough. It's a circumstantial case, and it's enough for a bond over.
Today is January 9th.
Now she goes back, and we missed what I wanted to hear. So that's why you have to be very careful. I'm just going to let it play this time because I don't want to talk over it. It goes by fast. Please listen.
The case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote. In this case, there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death.
Leading defendants to Joyce's death. Linking defendant to Josie's death. Did anybody hear that? Did anybody hear that? Lincoln defendant. Who is Josie? Right? Who is Josie? We know who the defendant is. Isn't defendant the only defendant here in this courtroom who she's talking to is Monster Butts. Who is Josie? Oh, I'm gonna play it a few more times. Thank you. It goes by so fast, and she's speaking so fast. I know She's frustrated. And then I want you to pay attention to when she goes from that case and goes into the Nazaria Harris case. So she's talking about two different people. But let's go. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna let it play because you pause, you miss it. It goes by that fast.
The case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in page is the quote, in this case there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death.
Leading defendants to Josie's death. Who in the hell is Josie? And I don't want to spin a narrative. So I'm not saying this what it is. I know how to read. I know that it's the same docket number. Why would it be the same docket number, i.e. case number, if it wasn't being related to Nazaria? Take that for what it's worth. I don't know that to be true. I just know what I'm looking at, and I know what I just heard. So I'm not going to go any further with that. Take that for what it's worth. I'm just saying. I think she's saying, I'll listen to it again. Josie's death. Yes. Yeah, Josie's. Once again, who is Josie? And what relevance is to it? Like I said, I don't want to spin a narrative, but I have to ask this question. What relevant to Josie's death to Nazaria Harris? And I'm gonna let the rest of it play. Oh man. She goes over and she get to talking about the bond over. I showed you what it meant, showed you what the definition of it is. Showed it to you on his charge sheet. 5 different charges, one of them being a the different homicide that this court can't handle. That this court cannot handle, that she has to send it up to a higher court, to a higher jurisdiction. When laid it out in black and white. Somebody please come along and help piggyback off this. See if we can find out who in the hell is Josie. And why in the hell nobody talking about Josie? And why is it tied to Nazaria Harris? Like I said, I don't want to spin on narrative, so I won't say anything else. All right. I'm gonna wind it back and I'm gonna let it play.
The case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote, in this case, there was no physical evidence such as blood stains or a weapon leaking defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree, this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction.
For a bond over and either a conviction. Just made the connection. We're gonna finish and we're gonna let it play because she actually said some good things too. I think we all done heard it. But it's good to play again because the judge was really affected by it, just like we are. You can tell it in her voice. And also key point in this, once again, I'm not gonna spin on narratives over here. But a heads up, she even goes into the fact that she truly believes. She absolutely believes, her words, that Naziah was actually pregnant and that Jarvis, monster butts, tried to do in that home AB that went bad. But let's go. Let's go, King.
Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, from the day Naziah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Naziah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me, the family knows more than me, but from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several people failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love. I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, AKA King, and all the men who saw Jarvis Butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Naziah. And his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up his shop.
No, so I think she may be talking about the case the defense read, trying to compare to the Jarvis case. So how do you explain? Good point. But how do you explain the two different homicides on his record? With one being the bond over. Go back and listen to the defense closing. Okay. Can you answer that about the two different homicides, Ms. Novi? Please and thank you. I'm gonna go on and play it. I'm gonna be looking for your answer. Thank you for the information. That's what we're here for. We're here to build and learn.
The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Naziah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022. To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Naziah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine. to establish also that Naziah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Naziah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Naziah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Naziah that he did. In the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know.
There's no way to say I'm not an expert, just my thoughts. Oh, listen, I'm not an expert either. And these are all thoughts, and all thoughts are welcome over here, Miss Novi. I promise you. I don't think anyone has to be an expert to see that there's more than one homicide on there, though, respectfully. But I totally understand, and I respect your answer.
I even thought about the breakfast routine and saying that all the kids like eating breakfast at school. Did they have a choice? I don't know. But to always send those girls up there to clean up the shop raises questions. And how were there 2 women in that house who have birthed children themselves who did not notice that Naziah was pregnant, and I believe she was, and not having her period anymore? But then after hearing text messages today, begging Jarvis for pads as if she didn't have anyone else to give them for her. And what stood out the most was when Annette Harris stood on the stand, and she learned around 6 p.m. that Naziah did not come home from school, and said she looked around for her and decided to wait until the next morning to call the police.
Hey, Miss Kim, good morning.
Without a tear, without emotion, or any expression of being devastated. And to her Aunt Shannon, who also showed no emotion, expression of being devastated from Naziah going missing. She stated that she had friends help look for Naziah, but was directed to just wait until the morning to call the police. A grown woman who likely suspected something.
Jerry says, I'm paying attention to the verbiage. Didn't the judge say there was not such evidence as in Naziah? Yes. She absolutely did. We'll play it back with it. Let's get through this portion of it. Yes, ma'am. I believe she did as well.
Something strange going on, didn't feel the need to call the police either. They were both able to go to sleep at night without hearing from Naziah or having any indication that she was coming home at night. And of course, the defendant, who I will get to in a minute. I don't know who else failed Naziah, but the community did. As far as the people establishing probable cause, I will focus on count 1, as it's been stated that there is no contention with counts 2 and 3. In count 3, I will amend based off of the motion and the testimony I heard that Naziah was 12 and not 13 at the time that Jarvis Butts had sexual intercourse with her. The prosecution is correct. You do not have to have a body to establish first-degree premeditated murder. It would have been a much shorter exam had her body been found, but this is where we are. In the last 365 days, no text messages. We all heard today and yesterday that she was very active and frequently texted. No social media for a year. We heard through testimony that she was also active on social media. No phone calls, which she was also able to do according to testimony. No physical sighting of her by anyone. She never came back to school. No one has seen her. Medical records dated from July 2014 to October 2023 indicated that she had no life-threatening medical issues that would lead to a natural cause of death. The black hoodie found in the area of 7 Muhlenberg with her DNA and blood on it. The holes in the hoodie consistent with some sort of struggle, violence, or weapon being used. And we know that there were no holes in that hoodie when she wore it to school. We saw a picture of her in a black hoodie on her last day that everyone saw her. I do believe her grandma testified truthfully about the sweatshirt that she had on and that was practically new. And the border agent who said that no evidence of animals would have destroyed the clothing or the shoes to possibly lead to animals tearing up that hoodie. The clear glasses found in the blue Nissan the day after she went missing. The behavior of the defendant when he snatched those glasses. They looked exactly like the glasses she had on in her last picture, according to the witness. The shoes that her brother described as the same shoes that were found also in the area of 7 Mile and Bird, near the hoodie. While this is still probable cause, the evidence all points to Jarvis Butts. His locations, him being seen with her last, the abortion searches, the abrupt silence between the two of them in text messages, and the constant lies he told throughout the entire investigation. And they were proven to be lies with text messages and other testimony. We may never know what happened, but from what I heard today and over the last 4 or 5 days, it appears he intended to perform what he thought was a do-it-yourself abortion on Isaiah and went south, and instead of seeking medical attention for her, he intentionally killed her and tried his best to cover it up. As much as I want her to be alive today, there is at least probable cause to show and believe that she's dead and that she was murdered by Jarvis Butts. Mr. Butts, stand up. You've been sitting over there for 4 days with your head down, sitting between and behind your attorneys with your mask on and taking vigorous notes. I want you to pay attention and listen to everything I have to say. I have been trying to figure out for the last 5 days, you. At one point, I thought you were cognitively impaired in the beginning of this exam. And then maybe you had the brain of a 10-year-old, and that's why you were doing such things. But as I heard more and more testimony, you're just the true definition of a pedophile. Watching you laugh and brag about all the women you have with different women and the children and the girlfriends, and making babies to groom them, and having them in your presence, cleaning up, quote, cleaning up your shop, and the little girls around you, has landed you here today. You groomed Isaiah. You played mind games with her. We all heard that. You controlled her emotionally. She was exposed to so much at such a young age. The text messages between you two were disgusting to hear. And to think that she had you saved in her phone as bae for life. Isaiah deserves so much more. And while I mentioned other people that failed her, Jarvis Butts, you are the monster in this whole picture. She did deserve love from her parents and everyone who was in her life. She was ignored, she was neglected, and you took complete advantage of that. She wanted someone to love her, and she will never know what that feels like. Your children deserve more. As much as defense counsel has raised issues on count 1, all that has done is raise the question of fact for the trier of fact, which means that this will be for a jury or a judge to hear in Third Circuit. I pray for the healing of all the victims and the young girls and possibly boys who have come into contact with you. As a community, we should look at this case as a prime example of how much work we have to do when it comes to protecting our children and especially our Black girls. I pray for closure and healing for all those who have been traumatized by you. And for you, Jarvis Butts, I wish you a speedy trial and that justice be delivered. Your bind over date is January 16th at 9 o'clock a.m.
Man, that was, no matter how many times you hear that, is always hard to hear. It's always hard to hear. So I'm gonna go over this one more time. Mm. Let's go over this one more time. See a few more people in here. So let's go over it one more time for the ones just getting in here. So just upon discovery or just investigating, re-listening, relearning, looking at Jarvis's butts, monster butts charges. So you go here. Look, pay close attention. There's a. I'm looking at the homicides in particular. There's a homicide right here. Homicide early first degree premeditated. November the 1st, 2024 at 7:33 p.m. Docket number 25-000218. So there's November the 1st, 2024. There's a homicide, murder first, premeditated. All right, we're going to go to a second set of charges under the same docket. Remember, that was November the 1st. You look right here at this one, number 10. There's a homicide, murder first degree, premeditated. January the 17th, 2025, 9:43 a.m. The docket number for that as well matches the first charge docket number, was 25-000218. It's 2 homicides he's charged with. Why hasn't he been charged? Well, not charged. Why isn't he facing court for it? The second one at this point in time? Doing further digging, because once again, I asked myself that question as well. So I dug a little deeper. And I'm going to show you why. So you go right here. You go right here. And we're going to November the 1st, 2024, 7:33 p.m. Docket number 25-000218, which also matches the docket number, just a different date of the one that was in January the 17th, I believe it was, 2025. The difference is this one is bond over to Third Circuit Court. One of his homicide charges has bond over to Third Circuit Court. Once again, oh boy, what does that mean? I didn't know what it mean either. So I did some more digging. And let's get the definition of what bond over means. Which she actually talked about that when she talked about in the first beginning of the case. When she first started talking in like the first 8 seconds. She said that them charges will be bonded over. And we'll play it again before we get out of here. So once a case is bond over, it is formally transferred from a lower court, such as a municipal or district court, to a higher trial court with broader jurisdiction, often called a circuit or superior court. This transfer is a procedural necessity because lower courts only have the authority to handle initial proceedings for felonies, not the actual trials. The first major event in the higher courts is a formal arrangement. At this proceeding, the defendant is officially informed of the charges which may have been formalized in a document called an indictment or information. Hmm. What up, Snoopy? What's going on? Good morning, fam. Thank you. Chevy says, "Thank you for bringing the case back to seeking justice for Nazaria." Most definitely, it's right there. And once again, we take all opinions over here. It is not a is what I said this channel, anything like that. It's about learning and improving. Um, so I like what Miss Novi said. My only pushback to that is just what I know I'm reading, and also what I know I'm hearing. So we're gonna go back, and I get it may be a case law, and they do that at times. However, she says that this case is bonded over, and then she go into talking about Nazaria Harris case. Let's listen to it one more time. It's in the first 8 seconds, so you got to listen real closely.
Sergeant, I asked you yesterday about the subscriber information as it relates to People's Exhibit 16.
Got to go back to, got to get the video.
The one thing I had highlighted trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in the case regarding
All right, I'm about to hit play, so listen closely.
the case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in case is the quote, in this case there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree, this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction. Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly one day.
I think I hear what you're talking about. I'm gonna play it one more time.
The case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in case is the case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in case is the quote, in this case there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or a weapon leading defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree.
I see exactly what she's saying. Case law. Let's see. No problem, Snoopy. No problem, no problem, no problem. Good morning, beautiful soul. Good morning. I missed some of the live. I went to go listen to the closing arguments. Yes, yes. What's up, Miss Parker? How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Have you saw this right here? So, Miss Novi, you're exactly right. They were comparing case laws, which is why I said I didn't want to do no conspiracy theories. Once again, I want somebody to explain, like, there's 2 homicides on here. There's 2. One has been sent to the Third Circuit Court, where one has not been. where one has not been. Yes, she is. Can anybody give me an explanation of why no one is talking about the second the second homicide? Did you did you see it? Let me show it again. Good catch, Miss Novi. Good catch. So once again, there's that second. Well, actually, this would have been the first because it's 11/1/2024. It's 7:33. Once again, the same case number, and it's bond over to Third Circuit Court. Then you have this one. Homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated. That's the same one. We're looking for the one in January. Which is right here. There's another one, homicide, murder, first degree, premeditated on January the 17th, 2025. And once again, what's crazy is it's the same docket number. It doesn't make sense. I've looked into it, but could never quite put my finger on why. I figured because of the baby. And see, and that's the narrative that I didn't want to spin because I was thinking the same thing. Thank you, Ms. Novi. I was thinking the same thing. Plus, they always put it twice on the paperwork. That's why I never spoke on it because I wasn't sure. Well, then this right here. So what are you at? Right here? Cases right here. Bond over to the Third Circuit Court, and one of them premeditated homicides is actually amongst them. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 charges. I definitely caught it though. Hmm. That's what I said. Like I would want somebody to do some more deep diving. I mean, that's as far as I can get. It doesn't make sense. because all of them is not doubled on there. Hmm. And then I don't know. I know you may remember the write up about it was when I think there was what is Ken Worthy. They said that it was a AB went wrong, and that so pretty much saying that they thinking that that's how Naziah actually passed was because of at home AB. Wasn't that Ken Worthy with that statement? That was her, right? Let me see, can I find it? You say it again. See, I thought it was the judge, but I thought she said it here. But I was waiting for it, Miss Novi, but she didn't say it. What I was asking, when they said that they truly believe that she was pregnant and that it was a AB that actually went wrong, and that's what caused her unaliving. Remember, Miss Novi, I had said that before I played the video because I remember either reading it or seeing it, but she don't say it in here. Oh, did she say it? And I missed it, Miss Novi. Okay, so let's stop right there. Right there, what you just said. The judge said she believes she was pregnant. Now let's listen to it again.
The case regarding a trial, and the one thing I had highlighted in pink is the quote, in this case, there was no physical evidence such as bloodstains or weapon.
So we found out who Josie was. That was a case that they was doing case law compared to. So we found out who that was. Still need answers why there are two homicides on there, and one is being sent up to the Third Circuit Court. All right, let's go. Listen to it again.
Leading defendant to Joyce's death. In this case, we don't have the same facts or circumstances. I do agree, this is a circumstantial case, and circumstantial evidence is sufficient for a bind over and even conviction. Today is January 9th, 2025, exactly 1 year, excuse me, from the day Naziah Harris disappeared. Before I get into the charges, and the main charge of premeditated first-degree murder, I have to speak on Naziah Harris and the community who failed her. And I am only presented with certain evidence. I don't know the whole story. The attorneys know more than me, the family knows more than me. But from what I have heard over the last 4 days and 5 days total, is that several
Okay,
people
King.
failed her. I don't know where her mother is. I don't know anything other than that she was forced to live in a home where she was not protected or given the adequate attention and love. I don't know where her father is. I don't have any mention of him in her life, no presence. To Cordell, AKA King, and all the men who saw Jarvis butts hanging out and always around these young girls, including Naziah, and his 9-year-old daughter going up to the shop to clean up a shop. The school counselor who never showed up, or the person who was supposed to show up if that counselor was absent, after Naziah was on the floor on the day she went missing, saying that she needed to speak to someone and speak to a counselor. There's no mention of CPS, but I wonder what their involvement was over the years, because this was not just a 1-year thing. There are text messages at least from 2022. To her adoptive grandmother, Annette Harris, whose testimony, in my opinion, was very questionable. I understand why the people put her on the stand to establish Naziah's residence and the houses on Bedford and the regular routine, to establish also that Naziah was not a runaway child, that she was not a bad kid. I do believe she adopted Naziah. I do believe that she had 6 kids in the house. I believe that Naziah had on a dark hoodie the day she went missing, and that she had on red and black Nikes that day. What is hard to believe is that the defendant never came into the house as she testified. And there was also a minor that testified that he did as well. Text messages that show between him and Naziah that he did. In the basement, saying he was going to the shower, stealing her panties. He was always lurking around that house and asking for Janiyah and Zaniyah, from what I know.
I thought it was.
I even thought about the breakfast routine.
Yeah, because I'm listening to it and I don't hear it say it. Ms. Parker said Kim Worthy definitely said she knows for a fact Jarvis was the father of her baby during a press conference. Okay. And I read it. I also read it somewhere. And I thought that it was the judge, and that's why I was listening to it. And I never heard her say it right here. So it was Kim Worthy that said it. And maybe the judge did say it and somewhere else in another capacity, maybe. So, sometimes two things can be right at the same time. So I thought it was the judge, and then I thought it might have been Kim Worthy. So, but it's crazy. We really want to hope somebody can look into the fact that of them charges. That's really bothering me. And then understanding what bond over me. Like, it doesn't, because if they can try one of them, why can't they try the other one? And I go back to what you said earlier. And I know it's a touchy subject when you get to talking about the baby, but I mean, what else could it be? What else could it be? Let's see. Mm, 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 mm. Let's see what this one says. Did it take it off? Nah, I can't. Where you at? I know you did a press conference. Where is it? Where you go? I don't know. I can't. Not pulling up now. I can't even. I can't even find that her press conference that she done. Oh.
I have spent decades of my career looking at pictures of murdered people. When I was trying homicide cases for 6 straight years as an assistant prosecutor, I would spend hours thinking about
I
the
found it.
victim whose case I was getting ready to try, wondering how they spent their last weeks, their last days, their last hours,
I
and their
got it.
last minutes of their lives.
Thank you.
What were they thinking about? Did they know that the end was near? And if it was someone they knew, what must they have been thinking as they were shot, stabbed, or whatever mechanism of death was used and confronted them with by the person they knew or loved? I can't imagine the thought that goes through minds. But it's always, always 1,000 times worse when the person is a child or a baby, someone in the dawn of their lives who haven't begun to live their lives. The picture behind me is of Zanaya, and that will always be haunting because it was taken just a short time before the evidence shows that she was never seen or heard from again. It was taken by Nazaya herself, a selfie. That's the last known picture that we know about of her. And it was pointed out to me by one of the detectives on this case and by one of the prosecutors. She is smiling, waving, saying hello. But little did she know that she was really saying goodbye. We will provide to you later a very skeleton timeline.
Let me see. Happy birthday. Whose birthday is it? Miss Parker, heavenly birthday to your queen. Happy birthday. Who else? Miss Parker says it's crazy how they overlook what their baby said in her messages about getting out of that hellhole. I agree. Okay, happily having the birthday to moms. Sending prayers and positive energy your way. I agree, and then you go back until when you get into the CPS cases where they actually had a chance to get that baby out of there, and they failed. Like I think when I think about it, like that's one of the hardest things. Not only that day where she was, allegedly laying on the floor in school and won't help and couldn't get help, but when they had that case going and then they dropped it, and not only did they drop it, they still allowed him to be around the kids. That shit blows my mind. That blows my mind because there was that chance right there. The kids was brave enough to speak up. CPS actually I think at that moment they done their job because they investigated it, but then they didn't follow through. They didn't think about, well, why did these babies change their mind all of a sudden? Like that shit blows my mind. Because that baby actually stood a chance. They actually were brave enough. Then people wonder why maybe she didn't say anything, and because for what? They probably was meaner to her. They probably was more nasty to her. You know, because she told that time. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine what that baby and the rest of the babies went through. Most definitely, heavenly birthday to your niece as well, Shelly. Because she wasn't heard. Exactly.
Of the time right before her death, before and after. Of course, the detail would be provided in court. The evidence shows overwhelmingly in this case that she is in fact deceased. The last time she was seen alive was January the 9th of this year, 2024, almost 9 months ago. Her missing status was reported to the Detroit Public School Police Department by her grandmother on that very day, when she never.
Which is red flag number something. I wouldn't say it's number one, because number one is when they didn't get her help in school. When she asked for it, obviously she needed it. But the fact that it was reported to the school resource and they handled this case for months before turning it over because her fat ass is getting ready to retire. Let's not forget that.
returned home from school. And again, that was January the 9th of 2024. In early February of 2024, the case was turned over to the Detroit Police Department. Frankly, that should have happened right away. But they began investigating.
Beautiful Soul says, I really don't think that picture was her last picture. I've heard that before. I try not to go down that rabbit hole, but I've most definitely heard a few people say that, Beautiful Soul. I heard a few people say that they don't think it's her. My question is, I'm like, well, who is it and why would they make up a picture? I try to kind of keep it simple, but I've heard the same thing. See, sis believe you too. She believe it too. So I've heard that a few times. Once again, all opinions open. Most definitely.
Immediately. The evidence would further show that through text messages that we know and that we have, Zanaya and this defendant were going to meet after school on January the 9th. We know that she did indeed meet up with the defendant that we're charging in this case. We also know that several people close to Mr. Butts, who we were charging later, saw them together in several
Yeah, you
different
always said
locations,
that.
people that he knew well. We have evidence that at 9:30 p.m. on that day, that Mr. Butts checked into a motel and that Zanaya was never seen or heard from again. Not from her family, not from her schoolmates, not from her friends, not from social media where she was extremely active with her friends, not from teachers, no one. We know that she had no medical conditions that would cause a life-threatening medical emergency to her. And he, again, was the last person that saw her alive. She would have turned 14 years old just 10 days ago, on September the 16th of 2024. And again, no one has seen or heard from her. You look at that face, and you do not see the horrors that she had gone through in her short life. The exploitation, the molestations, the sexual abuse, and the pregnancy that she was concealing. The evidence will show that from one of her text messages to and with Jarvis Butts. And we also know, the evidence will show, that there's no evidence of anyone else being the father of that child, other than the defendant himself.
There she go. Know for a fact that she was pregnant. And she's about to go into the fact that it couldn't have been nobody else but his. Let's see. I love dialogue, beautiful. I love dialogue. I think it's old, and my question is, the kids in the background should should about to tell and teach her as well. Nice observation. Even so, I think it's old, and my question is, the kids in the background should about to tell and teach her as well. Ms. Parker said, beautiful soul. The teacher said she had on something completely different and didn't remember the Zaya taking pictures. Okay, about that, when you say something different, talking about something different versus what she had on this picture, or was it different from what? Because we know she had on something different when she was allegedly unalive, right? And I think this is something that me and you did have in common, sis, was the fact that we believe that baby went home. Good morning, Queen. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you for coming through. So most definitely know that the clothes that she had on, allegedly had on, and we know the shoes is most definitely different from what anybody said what she had on, or what they supposed to have found at the crime scene, alleged crime scene, that is. So yeah, I love dialogue. Keep them coming. I love it.
Who we charged today, and he knew she was pregnant. We know that he was also searching for ways to abort the baby. We know that sexually explicit photos were requested by him of her and that she complied and sent them to her. All at the hands, we allege, the man we are charging with her death and also her long-term sexual abuse. In our warrant review process that Matt and Tina and others put together, excellent work on that. Video of 111 gigabytes, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera, and let me not forget.
Video of 111 gigabytes. I'm not a nerd in that, but it sounds like a whole lot of video.
Was Tina and Matt's memo, but the work of the Detroit Police Department. Anyway, we reviewed 111 gigabytes of video, witnesses and witness statements, body-worn camera footage, surveillance video, police reports, documents, 19 gigabytes, medical records, search warrant returns, phone extractions, which came to 500.
So there are medical reports. So did she go to the doctor at some point and she was pregnant, and that's why they know she was pregnant for sure? I'm just asking a question. I'm just throwing that out there. She just said medical records. And I did know in closing that they had said that they knew that she was in good health. So that's what she pertaining to? Or the fact that she's saying that for sure? And that's the reason why she know for sure she was pregnant. Cause she doubled down on that. She hadn't changed from that. She had to, right? I think so as well.
106 gigabytes. Today we are charging Jarvis Butts with 1 count of first-degree premeditated murder, 1 count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, and 1 count of child sexually abusive material. Today we are also charging Mr. Butts with more counts of criminal sexual conduct on 2 more girls, yes, girls, on 2 other separate cases. The girls in question now are 20 and 11 respectively today, but both were under the age of 13 years old at the time the offenses occurred that we're charging. We are charging that one victim who is now 20 years old, that from April of 2012 to April of 2014, it's alleged that defendant Buck sexually assaulted the victim at a residence in Detroit. Further facts and evidence on that matter will be placed on the record at the preliminary examination. In that case, we charge Mr. Butts with criminal sexual conduct, 1 count in the first degree, person under 13, defendant 17 or older. In that case, we are also charging Mr. Butts with 3 counts of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree, person under 13, defendant 17 years or older. In the second criminal sexual conduct case, well, I guess the third, that we're charging today, we are alleging that the victim, who is now 13 years old, that from July 2015 through July 2017, we're alleging that he sexually assaulted residents of Detroit, and again, further.
You read my mind on that one, Ms. Parker. So she says, why didn't they mention the charges about the baby? So, you know, this right here, this press conference right here was actually before the preliminary hearing. And that second charge was actually after the preliminary hearing. It was on January the 17th. I'm gonna show it to you right now. So the press conference was before the preliminary hearing, and the other homicide that was on there happened after the preliminary hearing. I agree, but she knew for a fact she was pregnant. That's what she said. Yeah, they just charged him with those in June. Now go back and look at the date on this conference. Shaking my head. Yeah, I agree. Yep. Now watch this. Maybe the doctor would be at this trial as well. At the trial as well. Most definitely. I would think so. Beautiful soul. But she knew she was pregnant. Yes. Now watch this. So this is the first one right here. Let's see. No, this is the second one. January the 17th, 2025. That was the one after the prelim. What was the prelim with? What was the date on that? Like the 13th or something like that? The 8th or something? So there's that one on January the 17th, 2025. And then you have this one on November the 1st, 2024. So one came after the preliminary. Why didn't she speak on it? Who knows? Great question. I wish I had an answer for that one.
Facts and evidence will be developed at the preliminary examination. Defendant Butts have been charged with, in that case, one count of criminal sexual conduct in the second degree. Child under the age of 13, Mr. Butts over the age of 17. Based on all the evidence that I've laid out now and much more that will be shown later in court, based on all these cases we will present in court, Mr. Butts targeted and befriended women who had to have sexual relationships with their young daughters. He would have relationships with their mothers, but his true desire was to have sex with their young daughters. That's what the evidence will show. He was a classic and excellent.
And what she said right there is something that should be considered as awareness. Because there's many Jarvis Butts out here, monster butts, that will be with you for the satisfaction of your kids. Stay woke, please, please, please. Do whatever you can. Your background report checks. Your just don't leave your kid at home. You know, with men. It's just it should be a take all right there.
Expert groomer and pedophile. It's incredibly sad, incredibly unspeakable, and we want to bring justice to her and her family. I have to take this moment to say something to you, and this is not directed at all at Naziah's family, who by all accounts had many in her family that truly loved her. This is directed to everyone else listening to me now. we must be very careful who we let into our hearts and our homes and our lives,
There you go.
especially if you have children. We must be very careful who we have around our children and elders respectively. We must also be very careful who we leave our children with, even if they are in a relationship partners, family, and friend. I'll say that again. Even if they are relationship partners, families, or friends. Life can be hard enough at times, but when it comes to our children, we must be deliberative, we must be diligent, and laser focused on their safety. And sometimes we must make decisions about them and their lives that we may not like and that they may not like, but it's for the betterment of them and their safety and their future. When something doesn't feel right, even if it's just that voice in your head, it usually isn't right. And sometimes when we are attentive and we do everything right by our children, things can still happen and still go very wrong despite our best efforts. This can happen to good watchers of children. But we must always ask ourselves at the end of each and every day, was I right by each member of my household in terms of their safety? Did I do right by my children? Now, of course, Mr. Butts is presumed innocent unless and until he's found guilty on each and every crime and count that we have charged today. We have been told this morning that the arraignment will be tomorrow, we think at 10:30 a.m. in the morning, but we don't have confirmation of that yet. But the arraignment, we are told, will happen tomorrow morning.
In just a few
That's a very good question. For real. Like if she's saying she know for sure, and she know that he attempted AB, why she didn't speak on it at the press conference? Maybe there's some kind of I don't know. I could speculate all day long. Mm, mm, mm. I don't know. When is his new trial? I know. I think I heard somewhere where they bringing. He got more charges, right? I'm looking for something. Let's see. Beautiful soul. They said exactly. I have a question. Why no one has ever asked Shannon why Nazaya wanted that address? I think we asked that question a few times, beautiful soul. And I don't think we ever got an answer for that. And I also think the key to it, and I think Ms. Parker thought the same thing about the glasses being found in that car, the phone call or wipe everything down. This monster most definitely had help. He most definitely didn't do this alone. Great question. Great question. I don't have an answer for it though. So once again, the content was Nazir Harris. How was this missed? We went back to Jarvis Buck's first preliminary hearing. We found out that Josie was a case law that they tried to compare the Nazir Harris case to. And then we also looked at the fact that there's two different homicides on there, two different dates. And one has been sent up to the Third Circuit Court along with four other charges. I think there was one on January the 17th, 2025, and there was one on November the 1st, 2024. Once again, the awareness is to please protect these babies at all costs. And just like the lady just said, for whatever her word is worth at this point. However, it still remains true. Sometimes it's not about the messenger, it's about the message. That even when you are a careful parent, sometimes things can still happen. So the key is just to be as careful as you can when it comes down to these kids. See something, say something. Believe your child. Get them the help they need. Get away. Novi said that asked Shannon in court. She said they were studying surrounding in schools. For real, Miss Novi? Wow. There you go. Mm. So many people let this baby down. Queen, let me ask you something. Did anything Shannon said make sense? Nothing she said made sense. I mean, it just makes you frustrated to even think about what could be going through her head. For real though. Like, Beautiful Soul said that she was supposed to be sick in school with pain and that she was having Braxton Hicks. How could she do all the stuff with Jarvis in and out of the car, walking to the store? Keep in mind it's cold. For real. Queen said, not at all. Like, nothing. Nothing. I mean, sometimes you got to find a human somewhere, but there's nothing Shannon said or did on the stand at the house that night that Nasiah allegedly didn't come home. Nothing the mama did made sense. Nothing the mama said made sense. I mean, she like she didn't see the man in court at first. Like she needed some glasses. We know she could spot that man out of anywhere. Like I really hope that that family gets some help. Well, I hope them adults go to jail in the house, especially Shannon and and that mama. But for them kids, there's been victims that they get the help they need, they get the counseling they need, they get the love and support they need. Because if not, the cycle continues. Victims become victimizers in some cases, especially if you don't get the right help. You're not surrounded around love. You're not surrounded around support. You're not being in an environment where it's going to be an environment where people play on your traumas. I really hope, if nothing else, that them kids that's been involved get the help that they deserve. Because if not, it's going to be a hard life for them. It's time for them to stop them generational curses within their family. And in this case, I'll go beyond the family of the community that they're in. That community has to be tainted. But let's take off anybody that know law a little deeper. Can explain that bound over on one of them homicide charges and why that exists? Because it's confusing. And just like Ms. Parker said, she's saying that she knows for a fact. She said, I know for a fact she was pregnant. And then here's this other homicide pops up after their first preliminary hearing. Q says, I'm just listening, but I have a serious question. How do you know if a person is pregnant if they have results? You got to also remember that she said that they had medical records, Q. So now what's in the medical records, I don't know. And from some of the videos, her last videos, I think from the naked eye, you can tell that that baby allegedly was pregnant. But good question. But she did mention. So when Channing said there are hormones released in the blood called BHCG. And also like to add, also they talked about there was medical records. So yes, so yeah, they can get the hormones released in the blood. That answers your question, bro. Anybody else got any questions? Any dialogue you want to add? Like I said, I love the dialogue. I want to talk and learn at the same time. Love the dialogue. And from my understanding, like they still getting victims. And I don't want to pre-speak, but I really think his days of hurting kids are over with. I really think so. I really think his days of hurting kids are over with. Q said, I know that in Channing, but they still don't have remains yet, or I might be behind in the case. Yeah, not that we know of, but bro, I can answer that one. You don't have to have remains, but they did speak of, and I think this is what Enchanted is speaking about. They did have blood on her clothing, and I think what Enchanted saying, testing the blood can tell. You can tell whether she was. I think that's what she's saying. Yep, I thought so. They have blood samples on the sweatshirt. Yes. Yeah, they're just like they charging with Nazaya, and there haven't been nobody, so that we know of. Once again, Miss Novi said Nazaya also in her text message to Jarvis that she was getting hard to do gym with this baby. Yes, ma'am. She did say that. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Most definitely was said. You're right, Miss Novi. Most definitely was said. Beautiful Soul said, I think it's one thing sharing these women with Jarvis because she have 5 kids with him because she feels like she have the upper hand but Nazaya is someone she didn't like. She was not having that. I agree. I agree with you on that too as well, Beautiful Soul. And you can tell that by some of the text messages that are it's just you can tell. Yeah, they done that baby wrong. I agree. But let's just keep it positive, keep praying, you know, for that family, even for the monsters, because they need it. I know it may sound crazy, but only God can help them or not. I'm gonna definitely pray for all kids that was involved, whether they was touched or not. Just the fact that they was experienced that type of environment. And please, if you see something, say something. Never can be too careful. I want to thank everybody for coming out on this portion of content. Nazaya Harris, how was dismissed, and we went down the rabbit hole back to the first preliminary hearing. Still trying to figure out what is that second charge? Why is it there? And why did it have to be moved up to the Third Circuit Court? And we did find out in the beginning of who Josie was. There was a case law that they was using as a defense of saying that he shouldn't be charged with the unaliving of Nazaria Harris. And once again, this is what this channel is about. It's about dialoguing. It's about open communication. And we build and learn from that. So whenever you see this live button, feel free to come through, and give your ideas, your opinions. They all are welcome over here. Most definitely. And I'll probably be back though. I got something else I want to run as well. So, but once again, thank everybody for coming out. I really appreciate it. If you didn't hit that like button, please hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. And everybody have a blessed Thursday. Whatever you do, don't do it without God. Thank you. Everyone else have a good day too. Thank you. Thank you. And Ms. Nova, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you. Different set of eyes, different set of ears. I really appreciate you. Thank you. It takes a village. It takes a village. So thank you.